Do you know President Zelenskyy logged on to booking.com and cancelled all his flights? Why? Maybe his frequent flyer miles expired, or perhaps he finally realized that international meetings via Zoom are less stressful than enduring airport security. Or did he just want to avoid awkward small talk with King Philip VI of Spain about the weather? No, it's because he's dealing with a tiny issue like an entire Russian offensive. Turns out, leading a country under siege takes priority over sampling Portuguese pastries. Who knew? Let me tell you the real story.
Welcome to TFI Global, the antidote to mass delusion.
Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelenskyy has suddenly cancelled all his international travel plans to deal with the Russian offensive. This is quite the pickle for a leader who thrives on lobbying for military and economic support from other countries. It's like cancelling all your doctor's appointments because you're too busy being sick. Zelenskyy's press secretary, Sergei Nikiforov, broke the news on Facebook, stating that new travel dates would be arranged later. No reason was given, but some diplomatic sources spilled the beans to the Spanish news agency EFE, saying the meeting with King Philip VI of Spain was axed due to Ukraine's dire military situation. Zelenskyy was also supposed to pop by Portugal, but that's now off the table. The current scenario for Ukraine is anything but rosy. According to former British Tank Regiment Commander Hamish de Breton Gordon, writing in the Telegraph, Russia might topple Ukraine within months or less than that. He added that Zelenskyy's quick travel cancellations underscore the seriousness of the situation. Naturally, de Breton Gordon blamed the US and NATO's indecision and procrastination for giving Russian President Vladimir Putin the green light to press on. For months, Ukraine has been defending a 620-mile front line on what analyst George Barros of the Institute for the Study of War termed a starvation diet of military aid. Some parts of Donetsk front like Avdiivka and Chasiv Yar have Ukrainian defensive lines stretched so thin they are practically see-through. This thin defense has allowed Russia to make small but steady advances. And as if things going to get worse, Russia's largest offensive in the Kharkiv region adds another headache for Ukraine. Ukraine's head of military intelligence, Kirill Budanov, told the New York Times that all their forces are either in Kharkiv or Chasiv Yar. I've used everything we have, he said. Unfortunately, we don't have anyone else in the reserves. Sounds like trying to win a marathon with one shoelace. A Ukrainian commander also mentioned to the BBC that key fortifications were missing in Vovchansk, blaming it on either negligence or corruption. The Russians just walked in, he said, which doesn't sound like a great defense strategy. Vovchansk, near the Russian border and about 25 miles from Kharkiv's outskirts, has been bombarded heavily, according to Kharkiv Governor Ole Sinihubov. Over 5,700 civilians have been evacuated from the area. Zelenskyy shared on social media that he had met with his commanders to discuss extremely tough situation in the region, though he claimed Ukrainian forces had started to stabilize it. The Institute for the Study of War earlier assessed that Russia would need a significantly larger force to take Kharkiv and that the offensive might be a tactic to pull Ukrainian forces from the east. Meanwhile, the chronic delays in Western support have left Ukraine scrambling for ammunition. Delays in passing a new conscription law haven't helped either. With no aggressive moves possible on the front line, Ukraine has had to get creative. RAND analyst Anne-Marie Daly mentioned Ukraine's need to think in more 3D terms about the battle space. This situation has ramped up calls for Ukraine's allies to consider previously unthinkable measures. Ukrainian officials have renewed pleas to use US-supplied weapons on Russian soil, watching helplessly as Russian forces massed at the border for their Kharkiv advance has been frustrating, to say the least. Some observers, including French President Emmanuel Macron, are suggesting NATO countries reconsider their stance on sending troops to Ukraine, even if it's just to ruffle Putin's feathers. US officials anonymously told the NY Times that the situation might turn around once the US military aid package starts arriving, likely around July. Military analyst Michael Kaufman noted that this year represents a window of opportunity for Russia, but if Russia can't turn these advantages into significant battlefield gains, This window might start closing as we head into 2025. So buckle up, it's going to be a bumpy ride.